NFL fans, welcome back to the channel. My name is Jason, and this is the J All Day Sports Show. Today, we're talking about power rankings as we go into week 6. A ton of fluctuation, guys. It's been a crazy first few weeks in the NFL season. How about those Commanders, everyone? 4-1 start. They've had a pretty easy schedule for the most part. But that ends this week as they go on the road to take on the Baltimore Ravens. That game is going to be epic. But before we get to Sunday, let's do the power rankings 1 through 32. Let's get into it. Here we are, NFL fans. I'm really excited to talk to you guys about my power rankings as we head into week 6. You got to start with the worst team in the NFL, number 32. It's the Cleveland Browns, man. They have and a historically bad offense. They're ranked 32 in the NFL. The defense is okay. It's pretty much middle of the pack. But there's some injuries piling up. And this team doesn't have a quarterback that's any good. The offensive line is in complete shambles. They had 13 guys going into this week with the Eagles that are either questionable or out. The team is riddled with injuries, riddled with controversy, bad contracts. This team is going nowhere fast, and they're lining up for a top 5 pick in the draft. In my opinion, they are the worst team in the NFL. But it's close. Coming in next, knocking on the number 1 pick door, is the Carolina Panthers. Bryce Young has been a disaster. For me, I would just let him play out the year. You're getting nothing out of your organization by letting Andy Dalton play. It makes no sense, right? From a business perspective, just let Bryce Young play. Who cares if he sucks? Maybe a light will switch off or something. But sitting him on the bench behind Andy Dalton is doing him no good, or this organization any good. There's no trade value to be had for him. I would put Andy Dalton back on the bench where he belongs and let Bryce Young play out the rest of the year. A lot of big injuries on defense, a mediocre offensive line, not the best skill position players, no quarterback in sight. That's why the Panthers are my 31 ranked team. Next up, these teams are all in the terrible basket, man. Sleeping in the same bed. New England Patriots, man. Probably the worst offensive line in the NFL, right? No skill position players at all. Ramondre Stevenson's okay, I guess. I do like Hunter Henry at the tight end position. The defense has just been okay this year. They're not as dominant as they were last year. Drake May is getting his first start of the year in week 6. That means Jacoby Brissett moves to the bench. The Patriots are number 30 in my rankings. Next up is a team with some okay players and a quarterback who's making a ton of money. But as a team and as a unit, they have been unbelievably underperforming. And coming in at number 29 is the Jacksonville Jaguars, right? People are like, what about the Titans? Well, they're coming up soon, guys. Don't you worry. I just don't think Trevor Lawrence is that good. They let Calvin Ridley walk, brought in Gabe Davis, who I also think is not very good. The defense, besides Hines Allen, is pretty trash. When Ronald Darby is one of your starting outside corners, your defense has serious problems. The offensive line has not been good. Trevor Lawrence has been terrible. They got their first win of the year last week. Jaguars come in at 29. Right behind them, coin flip, it's the Titans, man. Will Levis has been an abomination. He is so bad. He's clueless. He's not seeing defenders. He's crying on the sidelines. He's getting yelled at by his coach every single day. He's making terrible turnovers. And then the injuries are starting to pile up. Awuzie is on IR, the free agent who came over, the cornerback from the Bengals. The wide receivers are MIA, Tyler Boyd, DeAndre Hopkins, Calvin Ridley. I don't know where they are, or are they even on the team? Because I don't know. The defensive line looks pretty good, led by Jeffrey Simmons. That's why I have them slightly above the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, let's move on to the next tier. Teams 27 through 21. Coming in at number 27, could fit in this bottom bunch, and we might be getting there soon. But I do like the talent on this team. Is it going to get shipped out of town? Probably. Aiden O'Connell is getting the start this weekend at the quarterback position. Gardner Minshew moves to the bench. I love Brock Bowers. I love Christian Wilkins, but he's now on IR. Max Crosby doesn't look 100%, even though he does have 5 sacks. And Devontae Adams, I don't know, is he hurt? Is he actually hurt? Or is it just like some BS ploy until he gets traded? That's what it seems like to me. I think the coach lost the locker room. Number 27 is the Raiders. Coming up next on my tier list at number 26 is the New York Football Giants. The D-line doesn't look too bad, right? But they one of the worst secondaries in the NFL. Daniel Jones is still not very good. I do like Malik Neighbors, but he's out again with being in concussion protocol, right? So I'm a little nervous about Malik Neighbors and those concussions, guys. It's a little scary. I'm not sure what's going to go on with that situation, but we will have to see how that all plays out in New York. Right now, the Giants are coming in at 26, even though they had a big upset win on the road last week, beating the Seahawks and kicking my butt out of Survivor. Next up on our list, guys, is the Colts. Their defense is not very good at all. And honestly, I don't think Anthony Richardson's very good either. He's got 3 touchdown passes to 6 interceptions. He's only completing 50% of his passes, everyone. Just 50%. I don't know what to say other than he has no touch with the football. He throws every ball 4,875 miles an hour. It's clanging off receivers' hands, and then he's airmailing balls, sending them to the next postal code, skipping balls on the ground. I'm not a big Anthony Richardson guy. I don't think he's very good. So, that's my thoughts on the Colts. The defense is underperforming. They can't stop the run. They're giving up tons of points. They're just not a very good football team right now, are the Colts. So, next up on our tier list, coming in at number 24, is the LA Rams. They should be higher on this rankings, right? But between all the injuries to the offensive line, no Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, I don't know if he ever is back to 100%. His body is just destroyed. I said this earlier in the offseason. People thought I was crazy. I told you there's no way Cooper Kupp's making it through the season healthy. And, I don't like to be right about players getting hurt, but it's just the truth. His body is toast, man. The defense has been pretty mediocre, but Matt Stafford's still really good. They could be up a notch or two, but they're 1-4 and they don't look very good. Next up on this tier list is, at number 23, the Miami Dolphins. The two-less Miami Dolphins are in the bottom 2 tiers, man. They're just not the same team without him. They got a big win over the Patriots last week. Good for them. But they're not going to beat really good teams with that kind of quarterback play. They look a little demoralized, in my opinion. Phillips, the linebacker, he's hurt again. Tons of injuries on the defensive side of the football. A mediocre at best offensive line. With Tua, you could get away with it. I'm not sure if he plays this year or ever again. So right now, the Miami Dolphins are coming in at 23 on my power rankings. Next up, number 22, the Cincinnati Bengals. I know people are like, they're better than this. They're better than some of these teams. Not with that defense, they're not. This offense can score 30 points a game and still lose every single game because they probably have the worst defense in the NFL. They're probably with a mediocre defense in the 15 to 20 category. But right now, the team that I'm watching on this field, they're 22 in my power rankings, man. They can't stop anyone. They can't stop the run. They can't stop the pass. Joe Burrow has to be perfect every single week for them to win. That's a tough way to play football, guys. It's a very tough way to play football. Next up on this list, very close between 21 and 20. But the last spot in 21 is going to be the Denver Broncos. Hear me out. I know a lot of you are like, oh, they should be higher on this list. The defense is good. This offense, I don't know if they're going to be able to contend with the 15 to number 1 teams in the NFL. They haven't really played that tough of a schedule. They've grinded out some wins, man. They're overachieving, in my opinion, especially with the way this offense is constructed. This defense is playing lights out right now. Can that continue? I am not sure. But The next team up, it was between the Broncos and the Bears. But hear me out. The defense is comparable to the Broncos, but the Bears' offense is way better. Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, DeAndre Swift. Caleb Williams is looking more and more like the guy we saw at USC when he was playing very successfully. He's getting more comfortable in this offense, understanding the NFL game a little bit better, and not trying to do too much. I like that in his game right now. We'll have to see. All right, next up is the Arizona Cardinals, man. People are like, you're crazy that the Arizona Cardinals are better than the Bengals, the Broncos, and the Bears. But you know what? Kyler Murray is winning close games. Come from behind wins in the road. Come from behind wins on the road. They look pretty good. The defense really showed up last week, held the 49ers at home in the second half to 0 points. Kyler Murray, Trey McBride, James Conner, Marvin Harrison Jr. I like what the Arizona Cardinals are doing right now. They're number 19 in my power rankings. This team is sliding down our power rankings. They were in our top 15 before, top 12 before, but now the Saints find themselves at number 18, and soon they might be falling more and more and more and more. I like Raheed Shaheed. I like Alvin Kamara. I like this offense, man. I really do like this offense. But Derek Carr's hurt. Spencer Rattler, who some people think has got some juice, going to get his first start this weekend. The defense is pretty good there. They play pretty complimentary football, but they're on a 3-game losing streak, and they're falling down. They might find themselves in that 21-27 category with another loss. They got a tough game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this weekend and could find themselves in this tier 21-27 next. Next up, another team sliding down, Seattle Seahawks. That offensive line is really bad. The defense is just mediocre skill-wise. They got a good scheme. I believe in Mike McDonald in the long term as the head coach of the Seahawks. But right now, between that offensive line, all the injuries piling up on the defense, the Seahawks find themselves at 17. Even with that high-powered offense, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, they're just a middle-of-the-road team right now. Next up, number 16 is the Chargers, baby. I like the Chargers. They play good defense. They don't turn the ball over on offense. They're very well coached. They have another tough game this week coming off the bye for a division game against the Broncos. That's going to really see who moves up the tier list and who moves down this week. That is a huge game in the AFC West as the Chargers go to Denver to take on the Broncos. Next up, number 15 on my list is the Jets. I know people are like, you're crazy. 15. Trust me, this defense is very good. They're going to continue to be very good, even with all this drama with Robert Saleh and Aaron Rodgers and all this BS. I look for the Jets to bounce back big and potentially win this game as home underdogs against the Buffalo Bills on Monday night. If they win this game, it'll prove me right, and if they don't, maybe I rank them a little bit too high. We'll see what happens. All right, now we move on. 14 through number 1. Number 14, much to my chagrin, the Philadelphia Eagles. They have one of the best high-powered offenses in the NFL, a great, terrific offensive line. But that defense can't tackle for shit. They look terrible. A lot of young, inexperienced guys in the secondary. The linebackers are horrible. The pass rush is non-existent. I might as well be rushing the passer. I would get just as many hurries and quarterback hits as this Eagles defensive line is currently getting right now. It's seriously pathetic. They're at 14. They might be sliding too. If they lose this game to the Browns, Sirianni's about to get shit canned. All right, next up, Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh Steelers are actually sliding down as well. But we'll give them the benefit of the doubt, see if they're going to be the team that we saw the first few weeks of the year. Justin Fields looked pretty horrible against the Cowboys last week. He's inaccurate with the football. He doesn't give his wide receivers a chance to make plays. They are dealing with some injuries both on the offensive line and the defensive line. Highsmith's out. Half of their starting offensive line's out. They just got Sayamalu back, who's coming off an injury, so that's going to take a little bit of time. I still think they're a good football team. That's why I still have them at 13. Because once these guys get healthy, they're going to be a force. I promise you. Next up, Dallas Cowboys coming in at number 12. Cowboys are another team dealing with a lot of injuries, especially on the defensive side of the ball. DeMarcus Lawrence, Micah Parsons, the list goes on and on and on and on and on and on. But Dak Prescott persevered last week and beat a tough Pittsburgh Steelers team. So he didn't play his best football, but he gritted out a tough win. Good for him. They ran the ball a little bit better than I thought they were going to run it against the Steelers defense. Just shows you some of those injuries are piling up for the Steelers, right? Next up, coming in at number 11 is the Green Bay Packers. They lead the NFL in turnovers. Very opportunistic defense, right? Xavier McKinney, what a great pickup. The Giants are absolute dipshits for letting him walk. WTF. But they have got shredded a little bit through the air and on the ground. The turnovers have saved this team's ass a bunch this year. Jordan Love has been hot and cold. I'm not 100% sold on Jordan Love quite yet. They got a young stable of wide receivers that look pretty talented. I like Josh Jacobs. The Packers are well coached as well. That's why I have them at number 11. Let's move on to our top 10 in our power rankings. Coming in at number 10, Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They got a great offense. Godwin. I like Bucky Irving. I think Rachaad White should never touch the ball again. I think he sucks. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Baker Mayfield. The defense starting to get healthy. Offensive line getting healthy. Godecki's coming back. Winfield's getting closer. Vita Vea's back. I like this defense. They're a top 10 football team, but barely. Coming in at number 9 is the Buffalo Bills. Dealing with some injuries again. Khalil Shakir and Ed Oliver both look like they're going to miss again on Monday night. We'll have to see if that extra day of rest helps them play. If they don't play, I think the Jets win that game. Khalil Shakir is huge on that offense, especially on third down. Ed Oliver is one of the better defensive linemen in the NFL. The Bills need Ed Oliver. That's why they're coming in at number 9 right now. Keon Coleman has been okay so far. I want to see more out of him. All right, number 8. Kirk Cousins. You like that? You like that? He's been impressive, man. He's been impressive. A lot of come from behind wins. He's gritty, dude. He's the adult in the room. He doesn't get too hot. He doesn't get too cold. But when the game's on the line, the dude is systematic. That's why I like the Atlanta Falcons at number 8. And they're working their way up. They could be a top 5 team very soon. Coming in at number 7, an underachieving San Francisco 49ers. They got a tough division win on Monday Night Football, but they don't look as dominant. They keep blowing out teams in the first half, and they let these teams get back into the game. I don't know if it's a focus thing. I don't know if it's a coaching thing, but the 49ers get it together. Get it together, guys. Get it together. Coming in at number 6, the Commanders, man. Oopsies. The Commanders. Jaden Daniels looks like the real deal. Dan Quinn, Cliff Kingsbury, great coaching hires by the Commanders. But their defense still sucks. They could be higher, but the defense is absolute cheeks. I know Commanders fans are going to be like, blah, 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 we're 4-1. We'll see. They play the Ravens this weekend. If they go and Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry only manages 14 or 17 points, I'll give you your flowers. Until then, it remains to be seen. I like this offense. Jaden Daniels looks good. He was my favorite quarterback in this draft class. When I scouted them, he's proven me to be right. I like the Commanders at number 6. Number 5, another team that's underachieving a little bit in my opinion, but mostly that's because of penalties. The Houston Texans. Nico Collins is hurt. We'll see how they look against the Patriots this weekend. I think they're going to be just fine. But once they get Nico Collins and Joe Mixon back, this team is a Super Bowl contender. Mark my words. D'Amico Ryans is going to help that offensive line clean up these penalties. They've been underachieving a little bit as well. Tunsil needs to play better. And hey, dude, at home, you're playing against a team in white jerseys. Take off the red gloves, you big dummy. Take them off. Put some white gloves on so you don't get a holding call on every 4 freaking plays. Number 4, the Baltimore Ravens. That offense looks very formidable. They could be higher, but the defense is underperforming. They don't look great. Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, Zay Flowers, Isaiah Likely. Very formidable offense. Mark Andrews, throw him in there as well. But the defense is letting the team down. 5 tutties last week to Cincinnati. Caramba. But they're still a top 5 team. They're very, very talented. Number 3, in my opinion, the Detroit Lions. I want to see them go out and dominate the Cowboys this week to prove that they're a top 5 team. Coming off the bye, a team that's banged up, doesn't have a lot of depth. The Lions need to go out and dominate. Jared Goff, win a game on the road. Let's see what you got. It's indoors, so you won't be, throwing the ball wonky because it's a little windy outside. Now, my Super Bowl favorites. Everybody knows 1, Kansas City Chiefs. 2, the Minnesota Vikings. The Chiefs just keep finding ways to win. Patrick Mahomes is a future Hall of Famer, 3-time Super Bowl MVP. The accolades. He just knows how to win football games. He's never out of it. He never gets too high or too low. He's systematic. He's a dog. The Vikings, a lot of big wins. 49ers, Texans. They're number 2 because they beat good teams. They're playing consistent football. Sam Darnold looks like he could be earning a contract, even if it's without the Vikings. With or without the Vikings. He's earning money to go play somewhere. He's going to get a big deal coming up. Good for him. I like to see guys that were, touted prospects in shitty situations. It wasn't always him. A lot of it had to do with the crap teams that he was on. So, there's the rundown, guys, of our rankings. Chiefs, Vikings, Lions, Ravens, Texans, Washington, San Francisco, Atlanta, Buffalo, Tampa Bay, Green Bay, Dallas, Pittsburgh, Philly, Jets, Chargers. Top 16. 17 starts with Seattle, New Orleans, Arizona, Chicago, Denver, Cincinnati, Miami, Rams, Colts, Giants, Raiders, Titans, Jags, Patriots, Panthers, and the Browns. That's my rankings. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Peace.